We have a caller on the line. I believe it's Dan. Dan, go ahead with your phone call, please.
Yes. My question is, if you invite someone to stay at your house for one day, and then the next day they don't want to leave, do you have to go through the process of evicting them, or can you go ahead and kick them out?
Dan, that's a great question, because I think Ted and I, we actually have friends like that too. You know?
Yeah, one of them's name's Uncle Roy. I hope he's listening.
Yeah.
Roy, you can't do that, buddy. No, but Dan, you know, eviction is for a landlord-tenant type situation. Right. This is someone that's a temporary guest. You know, you do hear some of these horror stories in some states of squatter rights and things like that. But if somebody came in and they're an invited guest and they don't leave, my next call would be to Dan, you're here in Bay County Sheriff, or whoever the appropriate law enforcement agency is. I like to think if there's somebody that you were friendly enough with to invite in, that they would leave of their own accord. And so always try diplomacy first, Dan, but if not, try not to resort to self-help. And when I mean self-help, literally giving them the boot out the door. Call somebody from the appropriate law enforcement agency and have them
whether it's Bay County,
yeah,
right, whatever county you're living. I mean, I said Bay County, so either whatever.
Tommy Ford, J.R.
municipality that you're in. That's what I'm trying to say. Call them. And honestly, Dan, it's a great question. I mean, it's very frustrating, because we've all heard that experience, either whether it's on the news or secondhand or firsthand, at, you know, going through something like that. So, hey man, are you ever going to leave? You know,
right?
And thankfully, we've never had to call the cops on someone. But you know, it's a great question, man. And so Ted's giving you sound and sage advice that say, look, don't put yourself in harm's way to incur any type of charges against yourself. Call the cops. Tell them your situation. If you're legally on that property, or you're renting that property and you have possession, legal possession of the property, they can get trespassed, and they'll get them out there for you.
Because they're not a tenant. They don't have a legal right to be there. They were just solely an invited guest. Then you get into some situations where you have to do ejectment and different things, but that gets to a whole different ball of wax.
Ted, flipping back to, you know, talking about statute of limitations and talking about a thing that it's kind of hard to follow sometimes for some individuals. It's called subrogation.
Yes.
And that's probably another key element that you have to understand, why it's important to hire an attorney and not try to do it yourself. Because I believe in the first couple of minutes you made a comment, you know, you can forfeit basically a lot of compensation
share
on
of your
case,
settlement potentially,
and then have to pay it back to someone, and you did not even understand that. So let's jump into that before we take our second break.
Subrogation can take many different forms, but the primary one that we see it is in the health insurance arena, and/or medical payments coverage, and even in some very weird situations, your no-fault PIP benefits, there can be subrogatable, depending on a very fine set of circumstances. But what it means in essence is if someone else pays for your medical treatment, like I said,
or pays a benefit on your
behalf. A benefit, most commonly a health insurance benefit, they are going to have a right to get reimbursed potentially when the at-fault party pays on their liability policy. So Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, traditional health insurance, they have that built into their contracts. Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, VA, by statute, have this right of reimbursement. And so it's important that those be properly negotiated and resolved, and there's even some ways to have them potentially waived if they're not properly responded to after sending a certain notice. So it's very critical that you have appropriate professional help to have you, to guide you through that process to see if you can avoid it, or at a minimum try to minimize that process.
And Ted, just throw this in. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be sitting around the kitchen tables or the dining tables or the couches watching football and celebrating the holidays and talking about, well, I didn't have to do that, but you had to do that. If you similar cases, understand, Florida, this is Florida law that we're talking about. Georgia's totally different. Alabama can be different. So if you're involved in an accident and Florida law pertains to your accident, understand you're going to have an issue if you have health care paying your benefits that you may have to pay them back. And so please seek out the help of counsel before doing it on your own.